Greetings, this is Griff Ruby, the Nostalgia Catholic, with yet another Isaac Asimov review. And for once, I don't have anything to show you as far as the original publication in which a particular story shows up. Sorry, it's just I have not been able to find it. So the next place it shows up is in this volume, Earth is Room Enough. So that's all I have to show as far as any kind of show and tell. And if you've been following this series, you know there's only been maybe 2 or 3 other instances where I didn't have the original release of something. I don't know, actually 4. Okay. There's one where something came out in newspapers, has some like an article, but nobody seems to have ever found it in those newspapers. Several years before fantasy and science fiction published the story. There's another instance where the story came out only in some obscure journal, Boston University, and then later on was issued by, collected in a volume, and so forth, by none less than Martin Greenberg, the original Martin Greenberg. And another instance where I just flat out didn't have a magazine, even though it's an astounding science fiction that goes back to his 3rd published story, Trends. I always have hope that maybe if I obtain some of those things, I might be able to go back and redo them. And then finally, the publication of Question, which was contained in, again, a very rare magazine, but at least I got the image of it. In this case, this is a story which came from the fantasy and science fiction. That's where it was first published, and I believe it would be the October 1956 issue of Fantasy and Science Fiction. And the story had a name. It was the Brazen Locked Room. However, although usually there isn't much in the way of substantive changes going from fantasy and science fiction to the next collection into a book, there might be the occasional fix of a typo or grammatical error, things of that nature. I'm just going to have to go with the assumption that that's all. And one textual change I do know is that the title has been changed to Gimmicks 3. So at least the footnote gives a brief glancing acknowledgement of its original published title. Now, it is a Brazen locked room. In other words, it's made out of bronze. Now, I don't know why it would be bronze. It could have been gold or silver or tantalum or cadmium or any of a variety of different metals. Tungsten would be pretty good. The idea is the person finds himself in this room, no doors, no windows, mysterious ability to ventilate air. Maybe the air dematerializes, and rematerializes inside and back again, going back out. I don't know. But at any rate, other than that, there's no way out along any of the normal dimensions of height and breadth and length. But you could go in all. But the guy got in there because, this is one of those, the person signed a contract selling his soul to the devil. One of those devil and Daniel Webster kind of stories. Only here, the deal was you have 10 years of all this grand prosperity and stuff, followed by, we're going to subject you to some kind of a test. If you don't pass the test, you're damned. If you do, you're still damned, but at least you're one of us, and you get, I don't know, I'm not sure what prerogatives that really brings exactly, but the idea being the guy was willing to sign the deal, and after 10 years of things basically going right in his life, now he finds himself in this room, and there's a demon in there. The demon can dematerialize or whatever else he wants to do, because he doesn't have the same rules as this guy does. The demon can explain to him, okay, you're in this room, and you have until such and such a time to figure out how to get out. There are no doorways anywhere. And Well, he keeps saying over and over, you know, you have freedom of movement along any dimension. So up and down, left and right, etc. And I think it's in that etc. If this doesn't give it away too much as a spoiler, that is the way out. So this, of course, these sorts of stories generally kind of end mostly in one way, sometimes the other. Usually they end in somebody finding some way out of having signed such a thing. And I think one interesting motif in this that's kind of interesting is you find that actually you didn't get anything you wouldn't have gotten anyway. If you just work hard at what you're trying to do, proceed reasonably, confidently towards reasonable goals. What did he want? He wanted a good modicum of success. He wanted to have a happy marriage and some kids and just the normal stuff. And it turns out at the end, he didn't have to sign any contract to have those things happen. All he had to do was just live his life. But this is part of the whole way we get you is you find out at the end you had all that anyway. So he gets out of signing the contract. Well, if you know how he gets out of the room, you can also figure out how he gets out of having ever signed the contract in the first place. So the other outcome would sometimes be that they don't get out. No, that's too bad. But I don't know of any stories that end quite like that. Usually there's some clever thing somebody does to outsmart the devil in such a game. Anyway, that's the story, and once you see, it's like it's the perfect puzzle box. I mean, the box is even literally a box with 8 corners. It is a puzzle box sort of thing. You solve it. How do you get out? And you're not allowed to dematerialize or rematerialize on the other side of the wall or anything like that. You have to get out without passing through any of the walls. So, that in a nutshell is the story. Other than, like I said, I'm not spoiling the story. It's in Earth is Room Enough, and if you had an October 1956 copy of the fantasy and science fiction, you'd have found it in there with no doubt some author's blurb. Fantasy and science fiction doesn't generally have artwork, unless on extremely rare occasions it might show up as a cover story to get the cover. But short of that, and this is a pretty short, small story, the odds of that are minuscule. So, without having seen the magazine, at least in a few other cases, I have the cover of the magazine to guide me. Anyway, that's what there is to this story, and it's kind of a fun little puzzle if you can figure it out. But for you, if not, don't feel too bad. Lots of people read it without figuring it out until they get to the end where the whole thing is explained. Yeah, thanks for listening.